Hello everyone, this is Mumbo here, welcome back, and today is episode 1 of series 2 of the Redstone Let's Build series. Yes, we are back here for another season. I know that all of you, or at least almost all of you, really enjoyed the first season, the Evil Science Lab, and if you haven't seen that before, then I would highly suggest checking it out. But in this one, we are going to be building a Rube Goldberg machine, and before I begin with any redstone technicalities, look at this world! Isn't this place absolutely insane? It looks like something fresh out of Avatar, doesn't it? It's incredible. And I know my frame rate is suffering a little bit here. It's gone down the pooper, and occasionally things do turn into a bit of a slideshow, especially when I'm generating new terrain, but it's just so incredible. The seed itself is Rube Goldberg, and it is on the amplified world type, as I'm sure you can tell, and really it is incredible. If anyone wants to do survival series on this seed, then I would highly suggest it, because it looks absolutely first class mental, doesn't it? This place is brilliant. But anyway, before we begin, once again, I just want to explain what a Rube Goldberg machine is, in case anyone doesn't know. What it is a series of chain reactions that leads to a final output. Now, if I remember, I will put a bunch of videos down in the description of examples of Rube Goldberg machines. I myself did one way back in the past. It was one of my first videos. It's called How to Turn the Lights On in Style. I think I had about 20 subscribers when I made it, and it is still one of my favourite videos I've ever uploaded onto YouTube. So like I say, that video will be down in the description. You can check that out for yourselves. But, where to begin? I don't even know where to start this thing. I think we should start up there. That is the perfect little spot to start it. I don't know, I'm going to have a little scout around and try and work out where I want this little chain reaction to begin. But, this place looks incredible. What a fantastic start. So this is where we are going to be kicking things up. Right up here on this cliff, and down beneath us we have got a target. And that is because to start off the machine, what I thought we would have is a little jump. So the player has to jump down, land on that white spot, and then we're going to be doing a bunch of slime block related stuff that will launch something in the air or something else like that. I haven't really thought that far ahead, but one thing that I do just want to quickly show you is that I just had to clear out a bunch of trees, and then I remembered about a new game rule, which is changing the game tick value. So if you take a look here, watch how fast these leaves despawn, okay? Bonk. They're gone. How good is that? It means that I don't have to clear out any leaves. All I have to do is just take out all the wood, and then suddenly all the leaves just disappear. It really does make life a hell of a lot easier. Something tells me that doesn't work anymore. As you just saw from the video, my original idea here was to have a TNT cannon, because I was told that they were fixed, that they could still be done. But it turns out that no, it doesn't look like they can. I ended up blowing up the whole landscape, and I had to reset the world. But anyway, if we give this a quick tester, hopefully it is just as dramatic. So we walk off the end here, land on the pressure plate, and boom! Is it a whoa? What is going on? That was cool, I guess. If you want a levitating cow, that was absolutely mad. I'm sort of going for the circus theme here. I hope you can get that idea with the giant target and also this sort of circusy looking thing, but I think that worked quite nicely. Now we need this cow to activate something. I'm obviously thinking a tripwire, and then that tripwire could activate an arrow that goes off and hits something. I mean, really, the possibilities are endless here. So I think what I'm going to do is, I think I'll roll with that. I think I want the tripwire and the arrow, so I'll do the first little bit of this now. What colour should we go for? Because we want like different colours, and we want it to look like an actual thing. Something that's possible, so we don't want any floating stuff or anything. So I'm gonna go for, I guess we could make it out of iron. Iron would look pretty cool, because then we could have like the iron bars going up like this, and they could be like there, and then like there as well, and then we have the tripwires on either side. I'd say that cow went around about that height. We'll give it another tester in a sec, but then we'll have the tripwires on either side, and the redstone wire from that could run out into an arrow. I think that sounds like a really good idea. I'm going to do a little bit of work on this, try and fine-tune some things and work out if it's all going to work, but it's all looking good to me. Right, so that is all done now. If we just jump on this pressure plate, hopefully, yeah, look at that. How fancy does that look? That is like one of the most fancy things I've ever built in Minecraft, but I was too busy watching the fireworks to actually watch where the arrows landed. So let's take a look. Okay, so it is around about this sort of region, okay, because we want to create another set of targets. So I'm going to carry out some blocks here, and I'd say it was around about here that they landed. Yeah, we're going to sort of judge that there. And then we will make another one of these targets. These are going to be fairly common in the build, just because I think that they're very recognizable. You can tell that it is a target. I'll probably have to make it a little bit bigger than that, though. Then again, I don't know if I want them connecting in the middle. I don't know if they will. Probably not. But, yeah, so that is one target, and then I'll do another target for the other one. And then what we'll do is we'll link up the redstone using an AND gate. So, only if both arrows hit both the targets, then there will be an output. That sounds like a pretty good idea to me. However, it also sounds like something that might not work. So we'll have to wait and see on that one. But yep, that is in line with that one. So yeah, that is the second target now in place. And obviously, I will put in supports for these things. We're not going to have them hovering up in the air because that looks a little bit silly. But now what I have to do is I have to cover both of these in wooden buttons, and that is so that they can be pressed by the arrows. So they will all go on here, and that just means that hopefully the arrow will not miss. If it does miss, then we've got ourselves a bit of a problem. And I know that isn't particularly fetching looking, but it is just making sure. If they only seem to hit in this sort of area, then obviously I will get rid of half of these wooden buttons here. But anyway, let's give it another tester, and bonk. Okay, something happened there. We have got an activation on this side, if I had actually placed down those wooden buttons. And we have got an activation on this side. No, we don't. I could tell this was going to be the story. Let's try it again. Neither of them have activated. Oh, yes. Yes, they have. Look, they both activated. Brilliant. Okay, that works. We're going to say that it works. I have been doing a little bit of testing using minecarts and the slime blocks and launching them up in the air, and so far, not gonna lie ladies and gentlemen, I'm a little bit disappointed. If we take a look here, now you can see the minecart is definitely launched up into the air, and it launches on top of this bush. But I think my expectations of slime blocks have just been so much higher than what has actually been reality. I mean, seriously, with the cow launcher, I expected this guy to go to the moon, and then with this one, my original plan was so that the minecart travels along, gets launched, and then flies all the way up here, and sort of goes into this mountain like some kind of Hollywood movie. Turns out it just lands on top of that bush there, that little bush there. So it's nowhere near as awesome, but I still think we could work with it. I don't really know what we're going to do, but I definitely think it is workable. We could get it to launch up on top of another minecart track, so it goes doink, and then lands on another one up there. That could work. Or we could get it to fall down into like a cave system. That could be really, really cool if we manage to do that. Oh, I don't really know. I think the cave idea is nice, but I don't want to go underground just yet. So what I'm thinking is we should definitely continue on the track. So what I'm going to do is just try and roughly work out where it landed. Obviously, it was ending up on this bush, but it went considerably higher than that. So I'd say around about here is a pretty good spot. Let's give that another go. Place a little bit of minecart rail up here just to make sure that it lands and actually rails itself. And let's plonk down the minecart once again, and we will see how this goes. So it does that, and then it travels up here, bounce, and lands on top. Nice and easy. Okay, so that works. Perhaps we could have it activate a detector rail at the top that will then bring up like a sign that we clone in saying Mumbo. I don't know. Haven't got that far yet, but I think this is working pretty nicely. So I have been doing a little bit more work now. The first thing that you can see here is this giant circle. It's almost comically big considering the fact that the minecart is the only thing that's going through it, but it turns out that is actually the smallest size I could possibly make it. So anyway, hit this button here, you'll see our minecart travels along, and bonk, it goes through the circle and didn't quite make it that time. That was a bit peculiar. Let's try that again. Hopefully I don't have to make the circle any bigger, otherwise it's going to get embarrassing. Here we go, and right, okay, so it's made it up to the top. It will travel along like this, and it will trigger a T flip-flop down at the bottom. Now that T flip-flop at the minute is unnecessary. Originally it was meant for a door and I forgot to change it out, but what it does now is it runs into a dispenser. Inside this dispenser, I am going to be putting a bunch of zombies. Now, here is the plan here. It will be dispensed out. Obviously, the zombie will start walking along here because there will be a villager down at the end. But as the zombie is walking along, he will walk over some pressure plates and hopefully a death pit will open up. At least that is the plan, but we have to do a little bit of redstone wiring here. So I've got the redstone underneath the pressure plates in place. So now all we have to do is a little bit more of the redstone stuff. So I'm going to grab my iron blocks because that's what I like working with. So we'll plonk that down there, run that into a repeater, and then we'll just need an inverter. Actually, one thing that has just struck me is we might need a pulse extender. We'll give it a go before we start, but yeah, the redstone for this one really is quite easy. Just run it into those pistons. So if you were walking along, you will see that, yeah, it opens up. I'd say that works absolutely fine. Zombies walking along, it opens, and you fall down the hole. I'd say that works, but actually you might want to work on the delay a little bit there, so then you're actually over it when it opens, because zombies are quite smart these days, and it might actually recognize that there is a hole. Let's try that now. So you're over it and then you will fall in. Okay, that is perfect. We'll do that for the other side. So our redstone is down here, right down at the bottom. And we will just take an output using a repeater. And once again, we will run it into the redstone torch. And that is going to be running into our line of redstone here that we'll just put next to these pistons. So now we have a working trapdoor. Let's just give it another tester. Oh, okay, I haven't done the timing for that one. But yeah, that looks to me like it is working. Now we have to test out the actual concept itself. And this is where things might be a little bit strange. So we're going to have to get ourselves a villager, which is right there, and a zombie, and we'll put the villager at the end, but we'll make it so that he can't actually walk out. I don't know how we're going to do that. We could use a fence post. Okay, so we'll stop the villager walking over here, because obviously otherwise he will activate the pressure plates, and then we'll plonk the zombie at the end, and hopefully, yeah, he will walk towards this villager and he will end up in the hole. Yes, he ended up in the hole. Perfect. Okay, so that went brilliantly. This is all good. So here comes the moment of truth. Let's test if this works. Hit the button here, and the minecart should travel along. It will be bounced upwards, will land at the top minecart rail, and then our zombie will be dispensed. He will walk along and hopefully end up falling in that hole among the other zombie. Perfect. So I guess all I have to do now is I have to add in just a little bit of lava down at the bottom to make it a little bit more lethal. Bonk, there we go, and there is some more lava in there as well, just for good measure. Now, you may notice that I have added names to these guys. We have got Barry the villager, and we have got Gordon the zombie. I don't really have any reason for the names, but what I want you guys to do is suggest names for any of the other mobs. There are going to be plenty of other mobs in this Rube Goldberg machine. They are a fairly main part of it. I guess someone should name this cow. He does definitely need a name. So please, in the comment section, let me know what you want them to be called, because I'm sure all of you put together can come up with a better name than I can on my own. Alright, so get to it. What happens next in this long old sequence of bits and bobs is that we get an item dispensed into this water stream. Now, as you can see, I have got another hopper here, and that is because we are going to do it on the other side, and I thought I would do this part quickly on camera just because it is a water stream. I'm using the new compressed ice, and that is because it doesn't melt, which is really awesome, and also I think it looks 10 times better than the regular ice. And I don't actually have half the stuff with me that I need, so this glass runs down like this and goes like that, and then we have the compressed ice underneath, and I can never remember where this is because it's not next to regular ice. It's really annoying. It's right down at the bottom. So yep, run that up like that, and then the ice goes up like this, I do believe, and runs along here. Now we are going to fill in this area with glass because we want it to look presentable, and we don't really care about how many resources we use, so we want to do that on this side as well. And this is actually a really cool looking water stream. I don't know why people don't use the sort of waterfall look. I don't know what to call it, but generally when you see people using water streams, they let the water run all the way to the end and then they just have a drop off. I think it looks 10 times cooler like this. I don't know if that's just me being weird, but I definitely think it looks dead good. So let's fill this in, and almost done. We'll just plonk down a sign over here just to show that the water is not going to run onto those hoppers, because when I originally did that, it just flowed off everywhere. Technically, we don't actually need them. That's a point. We can remove those at the end. So then, yeah, I think we have got all of the glass in place now ready for this one to be working. It looks like we're missing something, and that is because we are. And then of course we need to actually do the water. That's a fairly essential element. But what we are going to do now is we are going to put items into each one of these droppers. So for now, I guess we can put 2 apples in. It doesn't really matter at the minute because this is just a test run. So we'll put these 2 apples in here, and they will be both dispensed at the exact same time. And then we are going to take a comparator output from both these chests. But we won't do that at the minute. We're just going to give it a tester. So say the zombie walks along, stands on these pressure plates, both apples will be dispensed, and then there we go. We have got an apple in this chest and an apple in that one. So that is working as well. Brilliant. So there we go, guys. I have got the comparators there, ready and waiting for the next episode. Yeah, that is it for today, folks. I hope that you have enjoyed the return of the Redstone Let's Build series. It feels good to be back. It always feels good returning to an old series. When I originally finished the Redstone Let's Build series, I was a little bit knackered. You know, that science lab was quite difficult to build, and this is definitely a much more laid-back topic, I guess you could say. I don't know if you guys are enjoying it yet. That's another thing. Perhaps you might hate this whole idea, but I really have always enjoyed making Rube Goldberg machines, and this one is definitely set to be the biggest and the best. So I hope that you are excited for this series. But if you did enjoy this video, please be sure to hit that like button, and if you really loved it, then make sure to subscribe. But thanks for watching, guys. This has been Mumbo, and I'm out. I'll see you later.